Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something super exciting, a very specific mathematical moment in your financial life. We're talking about the exact point where your wealth undergoes an investment level's dramatic phase shift. It goes from being this exhausting grind of manual effort to, well, a state of completely automatic compounding momentum. There's literally a specific dollar amount sitting in your investment trajectory right now. Most folks, they just blow past it in the wrong direction, or they barely miss it. But once you actually cross it, the game permanently changes.
To really grasp this phase shift, we kind of have to start with a very popular myth. You know Charlie Munger? He famously declared at a Berkshire Hathaway meeting that the hardest financial hurdle to clear is the first $100,000. He was incredibly blunt about it, saying the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it. I don't care what you have to do, if it means walking everywhere and not eating anything that wasn't purchased with a coupon. That quote, it went totally viral. It basically became unquestioned gospel in the personal finance world. And look, the core idea is absolutely true. Assembling that first meaningful pool of capital is definitely the hardest part. But here's the massive problem we run into. Most financial advice is using a totally outdated map for a territory that just doesn't exist anymore. See, Munger made this statement way back in the mid-1990s. When you actually adjust for inflation, that $100,000 target is honestly closer to $200,000 today. Yet the entire internet still repeats the $100,000 figure like it's some timeless law of physics rather than a price point from, the Clinton administration. Millions of people are aggressively optimizing for the totally wrong finish line.
Section 1. Escape velocity. Calculate your target. Let's get right into it.
So, how do we correct that outdated map? Instead of chasing a fixed number from decades ago, the key to unlocking your financial momentum is calculating your own, highly personal target. It's a concept we call escape velocity. Think about physics for a second. Escape velocity is the absolute minimum speed a rocket needs to literally break free from Earth's gravity. If you miss it by even a tiny fraction, the rocket doesn't just happily drift along, it falls all the way back down. Well, in finance, your savings trajectory works exactly the same way. Escape velocity is the exact dollar amount where compound interest finally takes over as the primary engine of your wealth. Below this line, you are the engine. Above it, your money is generating more money than you could ever manually add yourself. It's a real game changer.
So, what does this all mean for you, and how do we find your specific number? Well, we start with a baseline metric. Historically, the S&P 500 has a 30-year average annual return of 10.1%. That's assuming dividend reinvestment, of course. For our calculation, let's just use a nice clean 10% as our working assumption. Why? Because that is what 50 years of data consistently delivers for patient, diversified investors. Now, what's genuinely amazing here is just how straightforward the math actually is. To find your personal escape velocity, you simply divide your annual contributions by your expected annual return rate. That's it. So let's say you manually save $12,000 a year, and we use our 10% expected return. Your personal threshold becomes $120,000, because 10% of $120,000 is exactly $12,000. That right there is your crossover point. That's the exact year the market starts doing more heavy lifting for you than you do for yourself. Pretty cool, right? Section 2. Investment levels. The savings game. To really understand why most people fail to cross this magical line, and man, they often miss it by just 50 grand or so, we need to break down the 3 distinct levels of the savings game, because the level you're in dictates literally every single decision you should be making. Your whole strategy has to adapt based on this. Level 1 is anything under $50,000. Honestly, at this level, market returns are mathematically irrelevant. It is all about pure contribution discipline. Just automate your savings and do not touch it. Level 2, sitting between $50,000 and $200,000, is the emotional danger zone. And level 3, that's anything above $200,000. That is orbit. This is where market momentum effortlessly accelerates your wealth, effectively doubling your money over time without you adding another single dollar. The absolutely crucial point here is that moving from level 2 to level 3 isn't just some neat little milestone. It is an investment level's dramatic phase shift. Think of it like a chemical phase boundary, like the specific temperature where ice turns to water or water turns to gas. The transformation happens at a very precise point, not gradually. Cross this phase boundary, and you instantly become an entirely different kind of investor, riding on the back of compounding returns. Miss it, though, and you're stuck down here on Earth doing all the heavy lifting yourself. Section 3. The danger zone. Level 2 traps. Moving right along. Let's see how this builds into arguably the biggest trap in personal finance. Let's look at why level 2 is where the most devastating escape velocity failures happen. Just look at these numbers. The median American family who is actively saving sits squarely in level 2 with a balance of $87,000. Americans in their 30s, they have a median of about $92,500. Guys, this is agonizingly close to the threshold. For someone contributing $12,000 a year, their escape velocity is $120,000. That means the average saver is just 30 to 40 grand away from achieving their investment level's dramatic phase shift. They're literally just 1 or 2 normal years away from a permanent inflection point. But the real danger of level 2 is that losses feel huge while the gains don't quite feel automatic yet. Let me tell you a quick story to illustrate this. We'll look at a case study pattern. Let's call him Marcus. So at 38, Marcus has been diligently saving for 15 years and hits $95,000 in his 401k. Around this time, he and his wife find a nice vacation property. Now, they don't drain the 401k. They know better than to take that brutal 10% penalty. Instead, they just stop contributing for 2 years to redirect their cash to a down payment. Just 2 years. Seems harmless, right? Well, at age 61, his terminal portfolio ends up at $750,000 instead of the $1.4 million he was originally on track for. That tiny 2-year timeline gap ended up costing him $290,000. No way, right?
This brilliantly illustrates the real tragedy of level 2 thinking. The true cost wasn't just the money diverted to the house. The real cost is that those 2 years of hesitation happened exactly at the phase boundary. Marcus would have crossed his $120,000 escape velocity in year 1 of that pause. By hitting the brakes, he fell back below the threshold and basically reset his financial momentum all the way back to 0. He literally uncrossed the line.
Section 4. The percentage fee trap. Protect your fuel. Now, let's say you do successfully survive the emotional danger zone of level 2 and you cross into the orbit of level 3. Awesome. But watch out, because there is a massive structural trap waiting for you right at the threshold. Right when you hit orbit, usually around $150,000 to $200,000, wealth managers are going to start calling. They'll tell you that your growing assets deserve professional management, usually for what they call a modest 1% ongoing fee. But listen to this. Over a 30-year timeline, that tiny 1% fee will aggressively devour roughly 25 to 28% of your total terminal portfolio. Yes, you heard that right. On a $1 million portfolio, a 1% fee could leave you with nearly $1.9 million less compared to what it would be without that drag. When you compare a simple, low-cost index fund charging just 0.03% to an actively managed platform whose total costs can climb to 1.65%, you quickly realize this is definitely not a rounding error. Charging a percentage of everything you own forever, just as you hit the momentum of level 3, honestly, it is the financial equivalent of strapping a parachute to a rocket that just achieved orbit. The time to go simple and cheap is the exact moment you cross escape velocity, not the moment to add expensive complexity. Section 5. Achieve orbit. Golden rules. Let's bring it all home. So, how do we successfully navigate all of this? To protect your investment level's dramatic phase shift and safely ride the compounding momentum of level 3 all the way into retirement, you need to follow 3 absolute golden rules. First, you must calculate your specific target number today. Just take your annual contributions and divide by 0.10. Make that exact dollar amount the main target on your financial dashboard. Second, ruthlessly protect your portfolio from withdrawals or pauses when you're within $50,000 of that line in either direction. The compound cost of uncrossing that phase boundary is literally measured in hundreds of thousands of dollars. And third, if you need advice on taxes or estate planning, only ever pay flat fees or hourly rates to professionals. Never ever surrender a permanent percentage of your compounding fuel. The math behind this investment level's dramatic phase shift is incredibly simple, and that beautiful compounding momentum is just waiting to take over the heavy lifting for you. So the only question left to answer is this. Do you know exactly what level you're operating in right now and what it might ultimately cost you if you miss your threshold by just one bad decision?